A new transfer student is a soft little crybaby. When I get first place, she cries. It's so stressful to be at the same table as Rana. Sob sob sob. She cries when I'm class president. Reina will be so hard on me when she's class president. Woo woo woo. I was chosen to be the dance leader and she had to cry. I've worked so hard for so long and I still can't compete with Rana. Why? Woo oh oh. I was so annoyed that I yelled at her, if you want to cry, don't do it in front of me. When she heard it, she cried even louder. And even got down on her knees in front of the whole class and begged me, I won't get in your way from now on. Don't bully me. Sob sob sob. I was isolated by the whole class. The bamboo horse and the school bully even pushed me down the high building. Dare to bully Cindy. Go to hell. And Cindy is still crying, for me. To you guys to pay so much. Oof h. So touching. Open your eyes again. Back to Cindy just turned to the day when she cried to me. I directly is slap flung over, cry cry. Your mother died. You are here to cry in the grave? Hello everyone. My name is Cindy. When I opened my eyes, a familiar voice came. Looking at Cindy on the podium who greeted everyone softly. I knew that I was reborn. In my last life. Cindy came late for a while because of something at home, and missed the time of military training when she was integrating into college life. When she came, it was already after the midterm. She came over to the unfamiliar character and coy. The corners of her eyes red. Standing on the podium did not say to sentences of tears to fall. Hello. My name is Cindy. Please give us more guidance. Cindy bowed in a panic. But her head accidentally hit the podium. And suddenly tears flowed, covering her head and froze on the podium. The teacher was afraid that she wouldn't be able to fit into the class. And even more afraid that she would be ostracized. So she looked to me. Rana. As the class president. Let's Indy sit with you. In my last life. I had an outburst of sympathy and resolutely stepped forward to take on the difficult task of helping Cindy quickly integrate and adapt to campus life. At that time, I was full of hope that my goodwill could be exchanged for the other party's gratitude and a bridge of friendship. But I never expected that this would be the beginning of my life's nightmare. Cindy is good at acting, especially at playing poor. In the face of my help, she did not show the slightest gratitude, but instead used a pitiful look to gain sympathy from her classmates, creating a phenomenon that I was bullying her. She used to play pitiful, and the friends I had made slowly distanced themselves from me. In the end, I lost the trust of all my classmates in the class and was isolated by the whole class. And she still looked like a simple and innocent person. I tried to explain and redeem myself, but everything seemed so pale and powerless. My childhood friend bad-mouthed me, and his defense of Cindy's appearance solidified my charge of bullying. Eventually, I completely lost my footing in the class. Take no ma and the school bully together pushed me off a high building, and I died with a grudge. The pain from the fall hadn't dissipated yet, so I bit my lip hard and looked at Cindy, who was softly introducing herself, and I could barely contain the hatred in my heart. I closed my eyes to calm the waves of hatred and clenched my fists. In my last life, it was because I was kind that I gave Cindy an opportunity to take advantage of me. In this life, I decided to let go of the helping plot and respect other people's destiny. Cindy, don't you like to pretend to be pitiful to gain sympathy? You said that I bully you. Well, this time I'll let you see what real bullying means. Under the teacher's arrangement, Cindy walked towards me with a timid face holding her school bag. She walked to the seat next to me and put down her bag. But her elbow accidentally touched my pencil bag. And the pens in the bag spilled all over the floor. And I frowned at the pens on the floor. Before I could say anything, Cindy panicked. Tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. These pens are very expensive. My family doesn't have much money. If you need it, I'll work part-time to return it to you. Please forgive me, she said while also crouched down to help me pick up the pen, posture put particularly low. and from time to time also sobbed too. Do not know also thought I bullied her. Looking at her pretending to be aggrieved. I hooked up my lips. Not like to sell misery. Then I let you become really miserable. I slowly open my mouth. Good Then you compensate me. After saying that, I opened my cell phone and called up the collection code. Cindy unbelievably raised her head. According to her experience, usually she sells misery like this. Will be sympathetic and then forgive her. She did not expect that there will really be someone to go along with her words. I continued, I usually don't have any hobbies. I just like to collect the limited edition of each country. Some of them can't be purchased anymore. There are several limited edition in this pile that you drop that are already out of print. But we are classmates. Seeing your family is not good. I'll give you a discount. A total of 15,000. You are sweeping code or bank card? Hearing this figure, Cindy was so scared that she forgot to drop her tears. She froze in place for a long time before she reacted. And the tears that had just been collected began to fall down again in big drops. I can't get so much money for the time being now. And you can see that this one hasn't been broken. So it should still be able to be used. I glared at her. Cindy whispered and finished the rest of the words. And who knows if this pen of yours is real or fake? Who college students would buy such an expensive pen? You are also too aggressive. I sneer and pull up the purchase record. Only to look at a large sum of money. I then pull up the post of the seafood market to collect the pen. 5 digits almost didn't scare Cindy to death. Fake pen? You can't afford to pay and start to accuse me falsely. Cindy wiped her tears. I'm not. I didn't. I heard a sneer and directly threw a slap over. Cry. Your mom died. Are you here to cry in the grave? Cindy was hit by me confused. I continued to say, do not know also thought I bullied you. Sell what miserable pretend what soft little white flower it. Obviously you said yourself to make up for me. And now cry non-stop. How? Is it I forced you? Or are you denying it? Cindy covered her face. Her cheeks were red from my beating. She held back her tears. I'm not. I don't bother to take care of her again. Impatiently said, are you a repeater? Will that to this slap on the head to offset the damage you've done to me? Earn a lot of you sneak happy. Cindy straight stood there. She wanted to say something. When she opened her mouth involved in the corner of the wound. Instantly shut up. I ignore her. She just silently beside me. I felt her fear and laughed darkly. Cindy. You can only deal with sympathetic ones with that trick. Now, my heart is colder than those who have been killing fish in our TD for 10 years. This is just the beginning. Wait and see. After class. My guide messaged me. Raina. Come to the office. No need to guess. I know that Cindy must have complained at the conductor. As expected. As soon as I entered the office I saw Cindy who was crying like a pear. She saw me come in and glared at me with eyes full of resentment. The guide looked at me seriously. Rana. You hit Cindy in the classroom today. Is that true? I nodded my head. The guide was full of hatred. You are usually a child who makes me save my heart. Why did you do such a confusing thing? Don't apologize to Cindy yet. Looking at Cindy who was crying and sobbing on the side. I said to the guide. We have settled this matter privately. She broke my pen. I didn't even ask her to pay for it. But violence is wrong. I review. The guide paused for a moment. He asked Cindy. Is that so? Cindy mumbled and couldn't say a complete sentence. I glared at her. And after we were both in line of sight, she finally held her words in a small voice. It's like this. But the guide knew what was going on when he saw her stammering. He waved his hand. Since you have already mediated privately, I won't say much. Rana, you can't hurt your classmates in the future. Or you are the school manager's daughter, I will still scold you. I said with a smile. Okay. I know. Out of the office. Cindy looked at me angrily. Just because you are the school manager's daughter can do whatever you want. How can you hit my things so lightly a pass? said she again aggrieved. Tears in her eyes. Don't think that you have the power to others' dignity. I tell you, I will not yield to you. I rolled my eyes, looking at her, this look of being and standing disgusted to the extreme. Since you want dignity, then quickly return the money. I immediately give you an apology, she cried even more sadly, but did not know how to refute me. After all, she really couldn't afford to compensate me with so much money. And she didn't have it. I lifted my foot impatiently. It was a complete waste of my time to talk to her about this now. I was about to turn around and leave this unpleasant scene when I happened to collide with the oncoming school bully. Tyler was gently holding the softly crying Cindy beside him with one hand, his eyes full of dissatisfaction and anger towards me. He questioned, "Reina, you've gone too far. There has to be a limit to bullying, right? Can't you see that Cindy is already so sad?" Cindy's appearance at Tyler's bottom instantly aroused Tyler's protectiveness. Tyler ordered in a strong tone, "Don't hurry up and apologize to Cindy. You are doing this is too much." When I heard that, a nameless fire couldn't help but well up in my heart. I looked at him breathlessly and coldly responded, "What's it to you? Can you stop coming to show your presence? We are all already adults, and should learn to take responsibility for our own behavior. If you like to help her out so much, then pay back the money you owe me." Tyler sniffed and frowned slightly as he asked in a deep voice, "How much?" I answered without mercy, 15,000. WeChat transfer or PayPal? As you choose. We are all college students. Naturally, we don't have much savings. And 15,000 is a lot of money for Tyler. The corners of Tyler's mouth stiff, and for a split second, Cindy in his arms looked at him expectantly. But he was destined to disappoint Cindy. The school bully was gone after all. $15,000 was something he would never be able to come up with. And now it seemed that even if he could, the money wouldn't be spent for Cindy. A few expletives kept popping out of Tyler's mouth. He was impotent and furious. How is having money? Money is a big deal. Really? Cindy, there's no need for us to bother with this kind of unreasonable people. I only use money to show off their superiority. But in fact, they are so empty inside. I almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. I originally thought he was so amazingly capable, but looking at his impotent and furious appearance, it turned out to be nothing more than that. In the evening, I took the time to go home. Just opened the door. I saw Mom and Dad sitting on the sofa. Seeing me come, Mom's eyes for a moment. She wanted to say something, but didn't after looking at my face. After a while, she finally couldn't help but open her mouth. "Di, what's wrong with you today? I heard that you beat up your new classmate. Why are you so impulsive?" One dad also asked worriedly. "I heard that the guidance counselor talked to you. Is it because someone bullied you?" Looking at my parents who were pulling my hand and rambling, my heart sank. In my last life, I was isolated by my classmates but didn't want my parents to worry. So I didn't say anything. Leo and Tyler pushed me down at all buildings simply because they saw Cindy pretending to be pushed by me. I fell to pieces. Cindy revealed her ankle that wasn't even swollen. Leo coldly said that it was cheap to kill her. How could Guki's mind be so vicious? They disguised my death as a suicide. Because Leo knew me, they even forged paper my confession. I pleaded guilty and made amends to classmates Indy for bullying her life. They covered up the truth of my death. And Cindy told Gu Zhao after the fact that she took my paintings to fight for the qualification of graduate school. Gu Zhao did not half blame, but also complimented Cindy's smart. The parents who rushed to the school only saw a cold body. Grief overwhelmed them on the spot, was stimulated, fainted. Woke up again, white head full of hair. They could not accept the fact that the white hair to send the black hair, this fact. But also never believe that the always optimistic and cheerful I will commit suicide. They vowed to get justice for me. Leo ran over to me at this time in a hypocritical manner. "Uncle and Auntie. In fact, Di has been very sad. She blamed herself for bullying her classmates. So she killed herself. This reason mom and dad naturally don't believe. They went to the school to investigate. But after being isolated by Cindy's tactics, my classmates have an extremely bad reputation towards me. All they could say about my death was that it was a bad thing. Mom and dad, who couldn't find any evidence, were in a hurry. The funny thing was, even as school administrators, they couldn't find any surveillance on the day I died. But Leo's words also gave them a wake-up call. And they went through a lot of trouble to clean up all the people who bullied me. After all this, they died of depression. And even in death, they still recited, "I'm sorry, Dai. It's us who didn't take good care of you." I also blame myself for not protecting me, trusting me all the way, loving me, and dragging my mom and dad, who have worked hard for half their lives to pave a smooth path for me, to death without enjoying a single day of happiness. A little told them that it really wasn't possible to be in this situation. Now looking at my mom and dad who are fresh in front of me, I can't help but hug them and cry. All the dust from the past, the blood feud, in my heart, my hatred for Cindy reached its peak. Mom and dad saw me crying, immediately anxious. "What's the matter, Dai?" In the school aggrieved and we say, "Mom and dad to support you." I whimpered and swallowed the pain in my heart. "No, I just miss you guys." Mom and dad hugged me and comforted me. In their warm embrace, I was even more determined to take revenge. In the classroom, Leo, who hadn't talked to me for a long time, suddenly approached me. "How's the health of my aunt and uncle these days? He is my childhood companion. Too young and innocent bamboo horse. Since I remember, his figure has never left my life." The parents of the two families often visit each other, because of their deep friendship. And my relationship with him has quietly taken root in these countless gatherings. I always blocked in front of me. To protect me from the slightest harm to the neighboring brother gradually developed a different kind of feelings. The adults see this. Will happily for us to set up a doll marriage. When Leo was a little older, his family went bankrupt and fell from the clouds to the dust overnight. Because of me, parents of the Cheng family to help a lot. Even if the Cheng family bankruptcy is not half dissatisfied with Leo. Unfortunately, Leo did not half remember our good. In my last life, when he pushed me off a high building, the despair and fear of that moment, like a sharp blade carved in my heart, still makes me vaguely painful. Looking at Leo who stood in front of me as if nothing had happened, I tried hard to suppress the disgust and hatred that was surging in the bottom of my heart, and used as cold a tone as I could, and said that there was something to be said straight away. As far as I could remember, at this time in my last life, Cindy had already hooked up with Leo. So Leo definitely wasn't just here to say hello to me. However, I do admire Cindy a bit for finding such a loyal lickspittle in such a short period of time. One is a rich family's childhood friend's daughter, and the other is a poor dowd and little white flower. Leo actually chose Cindy without hesitation, which is something that I didn't expect. Leo looked at me in such an indifferent manner and directly frowned. "Can't I find you if there's nothing to do? Cindy, what's wrong with you now?" He looked at me, not giving him a step down, and continued with a temperament. "But I do have something to find you. The school's per student subsidy place for me to save a bar. You are the school manager's daughter. This is not a difficult thing for you." Looking at him with this look of taking things for granted, I was simply left speechless. Leo looked at me. He expected that I would definitely fulfill this condition of his. After all, every time he made a request to me, he always had this justified look. I did not have a good temper. Our school subsidies have always been open and transparent, according to the results and personal qualities of the family conditions to give. Besides, you're not that bad at this money, right? Isn't the living expenses our family gives you every month enough? Leo's face was ugly for a moment. After all, I had always considered his self-esteem before, and never refused requests about money in front of him. It was also this that gave him the money to buy his way out of the situation, after my death, to cover up the truth of my death. It wasn't me. I asked for the spot for Cindy. Her family wasn't doing so well and needed the money. At this point, Cindy popped out of nowhere and was all teary-eyed again. I couldn't help it. Boo-hoo-h. I don't want to burden my family too much. Please, Rana. I really need this money. I pointed directly at the necklace around her neck. If I'm not mistaken, this is the new necklace from Chanel's house. Right? You can't afford to carry this kind of good stuff if you really don't have any money. Right? I laughed a little. You're not going to tell me that this necklace of yours is fake. Right? Looking at the workmanship, even aid goods would cost a fortune. And where did you get this money from? Cindy panicked and covered the necklace on her chest. Leo blocked in front of her. It's from me. What's wrong, Reina? Why are you being so aggressive nowadays? You're disappointing me. Cindy wipes her tears aside. Leo frowns. If you keep this up, I'm going to have to reconsider our engagement. I rolled my eyes. I beg to differ. Leo acted as if he didn't hear me say this. He lowered his head to comfort Cindy. It's okay, Cindy. Rana. She's a person with a heart of stone. Even if she doesn't say yes, I'll still fund you. Cindy nodded, her head touched. She wiped her tears and fantasized that she was Linda Yu. Brother Leo. You are simply too good to me. If only you were really my brother. I have always wished for someone to protect me like you do. Leo stood there, pensively looking like a silly fork. I didn't bother to watch the two of them act out the Joan of Arc drama in front of me anymore, and just turned my head and left. Called Dad. Directly told him about Leo to help Cindy speak and also to get her against me. But also included Leo wanted to give Cindy the back door to get a student loan thing. Dad was furious. Immediately agreed to break off our engagement, and will no longer have any business dealings with Leo's family. I raised my mouth fish after the good phone call, wondering without the capital Leo. Shinks in will still want him. Dad's action very quickly. Our two families canceled the marriage of things, quickly notified to Leo's parents, and notified them to cancel the Chang family's financial support. Chang family is now the cause of the upward trend. If less of my family's financial support, then it may be a lost cause. Of course, Chang's parents were not willing to give up this good opportunity. Not to mention that when they realized that Cindy, a useless green tea, was blocking their way, they would not let this happen. So they called and scolded Leo and made him apologize to me. After class, when I was holding my books and preparing to go to dinner, Leo stopped me with Cindy in tow. Leo looked quite agitated. He was furious. I heard that you canceled your engagement. His tone had a bit of reproach in it. You're already so old. Why are you still this childish? I was unperturbed. What happened? Leo's brows were furrowed, obviously not happy with my answer. He looked at me, frowning a look of impatience. You have to hurry to talk to your parents. Tell them that is just a moment of anger. It is a joke. I looked at him coldly. I wasn't joking. Leo looked at me like this. His originally serious look suddenly loosened up. He looked like he thought of something and suddenly laughed softly. Die. Are you jealous? Seeing that I've been walking around with sins and lately my fiancé will definitely be you. She and I are just friends. Cindy also took a step forward. The tears that she was about to drop, but couldn't, completely came out of her eyes at this moment. Raina. You mustn't misunderstand me and Leo. I just grew up with no one to care for me. And Leo's brother is more gentle. So I can't help but be closer to him. She wiped her tears. But don't worry, I am treating him as a brother interfering in both of your relationships. Leo saw Cindy's tears and he had a heartbroken look on his face. It has nothing to do with you. Think too much yourself. Leo raised his hand and tenderly wiped away the tears at the corner of Cindy's eyes. Cindy pretended to be strong, and nodded her head, and said with a sobbing voice, I know. Thank you. The two of them still wanted to continue the show. I no longer had the desire to watch. I don't want to see the two of them get bored. Holding the book and turning my head to leave, Leo saw that I was going to leave in a hurry, reaching out to try to pull me back. His hand touched my shoulder. I couldn't help but wince. Subconsciously slapped Leo's face. Don't touch me. My skin was on fire from his touch. And as the despair of being pushed off a tall building and falling to the ground swept over me, I could barely breathe. The slap was delivered with 10% force, leaving marks on Leo's face. Leo looked at me incredulously with his hand on his face. You hit me? Cindy was shocked out of tears by my action. She was in a hurry to comfort Leo. Are you all right, Leo brother? Then she angrily rebuked me. Do you have some kind of violent tendency? Even if you hit me. Leo brother. He is an innocent person. You have gone too far. I was so disgusted that I couldn't speak. Slowed down several times. It's none of your business. This is between me and Leo. You know that I have a marriage contract with him and still rush to be a junior. Is it? You can't be both. You can't be a whore and still stand up for yourself. I scolded hard. Leo took Cindy into his arms, pointed at me and said angrily, You are really incorrigible. When did you learn such rude words? It is simply no different from those countryside shrews. Rana. Very well. I announce that my engagement with you is completely cancelled. I don't spare him either. And slapped down the fingertip he was pointing at me fiercely. What kind of a thing are you that you dare to talk to me like that? I looked at Leo's stunned expression word by word. Now you really make me feel sick, Leo. You should not forget what the situation of your own family is in the end. Leaving my family. How long can you still jump up and down? It seems that people still need to read more. The stomach does not have some goods to see who is light. You two bitch with dog days long. And then let me run into you. I see it time to beat once. I don't want to be involved with them anymore. I turn my head and leave. Leaving the two of them in the same place messy. Leo's happy days soon came to an end. His family lost the help of my family. The whole financial chain broke. And he could only declare bankruptcy again. Leo has been high-minded and proud since he was a child. And is not willing to bow to me even now. While Cindy's life is not easy. She is indeed poor. But went to college to climb the Leo this high branch. Food, clothing and supplies are not the best. Now her quality of life is greatly reduced. But it is also the life of an ordinary college student. As the saying goes, from luxury to frugality is difficult to her fantasy of a free and dashing college life is no chance. The guide in the group to send a message. The list of scholarships came out. My name is on it. Everyone gathered in front of the list. Have to congratulate me. Rana, you good for the few scholarships have been given to you to get a few places. Yes, yes, yes. This needs to be the first in the general test and professional courses. How so powerful I humbly nodded my head in response. Suddenly, a piercing voice came. Che. What's so awesome? Isn't it just a relationship? I turned my head to look. And sure enough, it was Cindy, that's our grape spirit. When she saw me, her eyes flashed with a hint of panic. Subconsciously wanting to turn around and walk away, I directly blocked her way. You don't have the strength yourself. You can only go behind the back to discredit others. Our school's places are fair and open. Either the top 3 majors. Or won a place in a provincial competition. Or else the first in the comprehensive test of the major courses. Which one do you take up? Cindy's face was suffocated red. She looked at me with wide eyes. The back door is still not allowed to say? The school director's daughter is marvelous She glared at me fiercely and muttered in a low voice. If I have this relationship, I can also get a scholarship. I laughed. This is the true face revealed. I looked down on her with my arms wrapped around me and smiled openly. Yes. You are great. What can you do to me? Cindy stomped her foot and gritted her teeth. It's just a scholarship. What's so great? You wait. I'll show you. She angrily threw her head and left. I was curious about what tactics she had. After all, with her level of expertise, getting a school scholarship is hard as hell. My cell phone suddenly rang. It was a message from my guide. He called me to the office. He wanted to talk to me about my national painting competition. Just as I entered the office, I saw that Cindy was there. She gave me a hard stare when she saw me and I rolled my eyes and ignored her. The teacher of my major class looked at me. Raina, your work this time is very good. It's not a problem to get the first place in the competition. Go back and sign your name. Then send it to the organizer. The chance to get a graduate school is surely yours too. I smiled slightly. I can win the award. Of course I have to thank the teacher's cultivation. Just after saying this, Cindy's eyes fell on me. She recklessly surveyed the entry in my hand and slightly inclined her head when she met my gaze. I hooked my lips in a smile and took the bait. In my previous life, Cindy was jealous of my graduate school qualification and looked at my entry. She privately found me with tears in her eyes to sell her misery. Raina, can you lend me your work? I'll just show it to my friends. She looked at me, did not answer, pulling my hand and begged. Don't worry. I will never take it to do anything. It's all because I have to beat my face on saying that I will be a national painting. But you know, I'm poor and can't afford to learn. I also want to let other people to look up to me. You will definitely help me with this favor. Right. Don't worry. I will give them to see it right back to you. Looking at her pitiful look, I agreed to do it and confirmed that she should return it to me before submitting her work. Cindy promised me very quickly. But when it came to the day of submitting my artwork, she didn't return it to me. And she didn't pick up the phone when I called her. Until I saw my painting on the school's recognition board, which was signed by Cindy in big letters. I froze. The work had won an award and Cindy had used my work to qualify for graduate school. As she had hoped. I angrily approached her and questioned why she had stolen my work. And just as we were arguing, Takeshi and the school bully thought I was bullying her and together they pushed me off a tall building. The three of them together cleared the truth of my death. This revenge. I must avenge. In this life. I went straight for the trick. And she really took the bait. I intentionally left a similar painting in the studio, and then submitted my work to the organizer early. In this life, my relationship with her had already fallen out. And Cindy knew that I wouldn't give her the painting again, and couldn't bring herself to beg me. I installed a hidden camera in my studio. And at night, I did see a sneaky figure approach the painting and take it away. Cindy looked at the painting, and she said to herself, Raina, everything you have is mine. And your painting must be mine too. Sure enough, after stealing the painting, Cindy didn't come to me for a long time to make a scene. Perhaps because she was afraid that I would cast my suspicion on her. When the result of the competition came out, my friend excitedly pulled my hand. Cindy, your work is so great. You will definitely be on the list of graduate school this time. I laughed a little. Out of the corner of my eye, I looked at the angry Cindy and deliberately said, I'm looking forward to it. If I can go to graduate school, I can rest for a while. Cindy heard my voice. She turned her head and rolled her eyes. Not necessarily have your name. What are you happy? I retorted. If I don't win an award, could you? I deliberately looked surprised. Cindy, have you also learned Chinese painting? How many years did you learn it? When you were a few years old. Gu Zhao came out from the side. Don't think you are the only one who is qualified to win the award. There are many excellent people. Cindy smiled proudly. Wait and see. The webpage popped up the list of winners. I did see my name inside the list. But Cindy's name didn't appear from beginning to end. She looked at it incredulously. But when she still saw her name missing, she looked at me angrily. Rana, did you do this? I sneered. What could I have done? Cindy muttered. No. I should be the one to win the award. As if she thought of something. She suddenly rose up and grabbed me by the shoulders. Did you do something? Did you steal my work? I sneered and directly pushed her down with force. Pulled out the surveillance video from my cell phone, and stood up to show it to everyone. In the video, everyone could clearly see Cindy sneakily walking up to my paintings. taking a doodle and replacing it, and sneaking my work away. Cindy anxiously tried to come over and take my phone, but I didn't let her. Everyone was talking, and seeing that everyone was blaming Cindy, Cindy did her old trick of crying her eyes out and tried to hide in Gu Zhao's arms. But Gu Zhao took a step back and avoided her. She looked at Gu Zhao with disappointment, while Gu Zhao stammered, not daring to speak. After all, he had just received a text message that if he helps Cindy against me again, his parents were going to completely cut off his living expenses. Seeing that everyone was ignoring her, Cindy ran off with a yell covering her head. I turned the evidence directly over to the registrar's office, which punished plagiarism and theft severely and announced Cindy's expulsion on the spot. After Cindy was expelled, Gu Zhao came to me to show his goodwill. During this time he was tired of playing with Cindy and was not willing to live those poor lives anymore. And finally remembered my goodness. He knelt down in front of our house. I am sorry. Die. In the past it was me who was blinded by Cindy's lard. I didn't know that she was such a bad person. It's all her fault that she always said bad things about you to me. Otherwise I wouldn't have said those bad things to you. So you can forgive me, he said, and even shed tears. I will treat you well in the future. Die. Please give me another chance. I ignored him, turned around and was about to close the door, when Cindy rushed out from nowhere. She screamed, "You did this to me. I have nothing now. If you still dare to leave me, don't blame me for going to hell with you." Gu Zhao kicked Cindy to the ground. You also know that you have nothing left. How come you still come to wreak havoc on me even now? It's all your fault for putting me in this situation. Otherwise I wouldn't have lost Reina. Cindy reddened her eyes when she heard him say that. She drew a knife from somewhere and directly stabbed Gu Zhao's stomach fiercely, and blood immediately flowed like a stream. She was not relieved, and stabbed several more times. Gu Zhao lay on the ground, his eyes staring at Cindy, and gradually lost his breath. Cindy looked at the blood on her hands and fainted in shock. I looked at the mess in front of me and called the police. Gu Zhao died on the spot because of blood loss, and Cindy was put in jail. Although the Gu family is down and out, but the thin dead camel is bigger than a horse. The only son died. They looked for a relationship. Cindy's life is considered finished. Tyler wanted to take it out for Cindy. He ran to the Gu family to call the were. Gu Zhao's parents regarded him as an accomplice. Cindy is now inside with no way to find it. They will be all the anger on Tyler. A late night. Tyler again screaming when the Gu family parents directly find someone to knock him out and bring him to the top of a high building. Directly pushed down to fake a suicide. Watching him die the same way as I did in my last life, I couldn't help but feel amused. After all, it is the way of the heavens. A reward for a reward. Past grudges have been resolved. The people who harmed me in my last life now have no good results. And I finally have time to properly complete my unfinished studies. After graduation, I inherited my family's company. In my last life, I owed my mom and dad too much. In this life, I want to stay by their side.